If everyone will join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Annie, if you'll do roll call.
Sure. Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Mrs. Geiger. Mrs. Geiger. Here. Mrs. Labuda. Here. Mr. Steingart.
Here.
Mrs. Edwards. Here.
Okay. We have a quorum. I don't have anything specifically listed as a discussion on the agenda, but I'm just going to take the liberty of talking a little bit about planning and I think the needs in the future. Started this a little bit in February of last year, so I think one of the benefits of the Class 3 gaming being approved is it's going to be a catalyst for growth. And I think for many years the county has been kind of stuck in somewhat, not in every case, but in certain instances, a mindset of what I like to refer to as desperation economics, where we're really hungry for some type of activity and maybe less concerned about the aesthetics or the design of a new development than having something just come to the county and create jobs. But I think, with the prospect of new resort hotels being established here, we have an opportunity to kind of change that mindset and aspire to higher quality development. And that's something that I think, the county can perhaps begin to lead that discussion, but ultimately it's going to come down to the municipalities with their home rule and their land use regulations to implement. But I think if we start paying a little more attention to signage in the county, to landscaping and the design of new buildings that are developed, if we do that now, as the county grows and as these resorts are established, we can really create a world-class destination here in Sullivan County that's going to offer not only the resort facilities for people to visit, but also vibrant main streets and recreational amenities throughout the county that not only attract visitors, but also enhance the quality of life for the people that are living here. So, part of that, which I've talked about ad nauseum, includes issues like building what I refer to as tourism infrastructure, which would be, I'd like to see a world-class network of rail trails throughout Sullivan County, so building upon those that have already been established. I think in the most recent round of CFA, City of Kingston just attracted $2.5 million. So there are other communities that understand that importance. But I think if we start to take these steps now and work with our towns to put in place these design guidelines and measures to invest in our tourism infrastructure, we'll have the benefit of not only creating an attractive destination for people to visit, but will become the type of community that corporations and other residents come and visit and say, I'd like to open my company here because this community offers a great quality of life. I'd like to live here because, and I have this experience myself, when I go up to Burlington, Vermont, and I'm like, they got the rail trail on the waterfront, and of course they got the college there, and they got all these activities. You go to these places, you're like, wow, I might want to live here. I want people to have that same experience when they come here, and I think a lot of people do have that experience, but I think if we pay attention to the new development that occurs around the resorts, we can create that experience, and by doing so, not only have the benefit of the jobs that are at the resorts, but having other companies locate in the county that would also provide jobs. And at the same time, if we design it well, we can still maintain that rural, bucolic landscape that that we've all come to enjoy and love as residents here in the county. I'm going to continue to have discussions here in planning, the planning committee. Maybe I'll even put some time aside and do like a little PowerPoint. One of my pet peeves is billboards, so I was thinking that might be a topic I try to tackle, which I know is a difficult topic, but I think as growth begins to occur, it's going to be even more important that we continue to provide necessary resources for the county's planning division. I think we do have the planner position, which is advertised, so I think it's important that we fill that. I believe there should be an additional position put in planning, but I need to have, I'm looking through it now in terms of, what specific role that person would play, but I think we put resources in planning. I think it's gonna could help us with the consolidated funding application in terms of developing a pipeline of projects to fund. Could help us as we're dealing with growth management issues. Could help our municipalities in terms of providing technical training and resources. One way to tackle the design, and this is kind of a dream, would be to get, several municipalities actually work together to create a design overlay district, so that there's some minimum standards that are established with respect to landscaping, access management, signage, those type of things that everyone agrees to and puts in place. And of course, it'll be the local planning boards that ultimately make the decisions, through site plan review and through the site plan review process. But, we could provide examples and, model codes for communities to consider. So I think with growth, coming our way, we need to put the resources in planning to help us prepare for that. And so that's an issue that I felt very strongly about and wanted to discuss. But I think for next month, I'd actually like to do a little PowerPoint where I go through and maybe give you some examples of communities that have embraced, design aesthetics like Saratoga, Vermont, Hilton Head, and show you how you can actually encourage new growth and do it in a manner that retains the rural character of our community. I think if we do that, it's going to be a home run. I think if we don't do that, we may be missing the boat and just have a one-dimensional economy where, if we address those design issues, we can have a multifaceted, very vibrant economy on all levels. And so that's where I'd like to see us go. Cindy? Yes.
With the risk of sounding like a broken record, once again, you just said that you'd like an additional position to be added, possibly planning.
Yeah.
And I'm publicly, for the record, requesting that county planning take the lead for small business development. Aesthetics are nice. I did a little presentation in Community and Economic Development Committee about case studies of small rural Main Street towns, small communities that thought outside the box with small business initiatives, everything from recruitment of certain, cultural and heritage groups, everything. But for the record, publicly, I am advocating for movement in small business development. County planning, take the lead, direct our economic development agencies, if that's what we need to do, to put efforts, equitable and equal, to these big job creator efforts that I see, okay? So, broken record, here I go again, but I'm stating it for the record in Alan's committee. Thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think the resort's going to be a catalyst for growth, and I think we need to take advantage of that and create an environment where we have other industries and businesses that also want to be here because of the quality of life that we offer, and I think we have that opportunity. Scott?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't think that anybody would have any issue with that at all. Now that there is the potential catalyst that it will be create a critical mass, so that a small business who does come into the community will have the support it needs to be able to maintain itself for over the course of a year. So I think planning is probably a perfect place to start to look at that. Back when you were planning commissioner, I think those were some of the things that you did with Main Street redevelopment and with the Emerald Corporate Park. So I think it's all going to start to take place, but we do need to focus on it from right now. We can't wait for the snowball to get too far down the hill.
And not to take away from current planning efforts, because they're working on Main Street initiatives. We just need to direct them as a legislative body on expanding that role, taking the lead back from economic development currently, and directing small business initiatives.
We do
Full-
need more
full board.
resources there too, because it's, we're understaffed.
We're ready, I'm ready.
The other thing is, I truly agree with you with the aesthetics. There are places, like you suggested, Saratoga, there's other places. The aesthetics of the place make a difference. When I stopped at a town upstate New York, below Saratoga, above Albany, they had a whole planning commission where even your restaurant had picket fences in front of it, you know, I mean, it made you wanna go there. They decided what they were going to build. They weren't going into these huge box stores that would make spasmodic growth. You're gonna go shopping there for the big holidays, but they're gonna have layoffs, temporary layoffs during the off seasons. I mean, growth, I think, is important, the aesthetics of how it grows, and what we choose to have grow in our backyard, I think, is also important. We gotta stop being reactive and be proactive for this county, so that what we choose to have come here helps the others choose to move there. It's like moving into a town or where you're gonna live. You choose where you're going based upon certain amenities that are in that area and how it looks.
It's true.
You know, I mean, you don't move into a downtrodden, sloppy-looking neighborhood on purpose. You know? I mean, you just don't do that, you know, I mean.
That's
you
called
sta-
gentrification, they do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and it just makes sense.
You know, Kitty, I think you make a lot of sense there, but, you know, one of the problems that we have in this county is the home rule issue, and that every town has its different zoning. But I believe that Alan, we had a very brief discussion earlier, and he's got an idea that I think is probably gonna be very, very helpful in moving forward, so that we can get sort of a cohesive plan for a larger area rather than a town, one town. So I think probably that may be something you wanna focus on in next month's agenda as well.
Yeah, and
Because I think that's a great idea.
I think we have to go in the understanding that, you know, the towns and the villages need to be our partners in this, and we can provide some guidance. But at the end of the day, their planning boards are gonna make the decision. So it's gotta be something that they're comfortable with and that they'll wanna embrace. And I think we can provide the illustrative examples of those communities that have, you know, taken the path of aspiring to a higher aesthetic and a higher quality design, and the long-term benefits of doing that. If you have quality development, you're going to attract quality development. And I think that's the message we can help to convey. And it's understandable that, you know, when you have an economy that has gone through a downturn as ours has, with the implosion of, you know, the older resort economy, that you're gonna get into a mindset of, you know, anything is good. But I think we're at a crossroads, and I think we have opportunity to make that transition. Cora?
Does the county and the Department of State still have countywide training for planning boards and so on?
Planning division has.
Actually have one coming up I was gonna let you know about.
Because I think this, if Alan could address this issue at that countywide meeting, it would go a very long way toward getting this on people's radar.
Yeah, I mean, I could easily do a little PowerPoint on it. I mean, I think my
What's the
photo
date for it?
inventory is
There's a
thousands.
seeker training on January 15th that we've coordinated with the partnership. But that doesn't preclude us from doing other training throughout the year. Heather
Yeah, we,
coordinates that
usually
It's
throughout.
just, if we could piggyback on that,
Right.
do
Well,
a
it-
spotlight on it.
I think it might be better to wait until we always coordinate with the Department of State will come down, once a year for us and give training. And I think that would be a better opportunity because, this one that's coming up in January, seeker is a very complex subject and they just changed all of their paperwork for it, so I think it'd be too much
It's
to
already
build
a
that
full
in.
agenda.
But I think that the
God
Department
bless
of
the
State would
state.
love that, and, if you let me know
Yeah.
your availability, I know that Chris Eastman is,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Okay.
They're really nice, they love coming down, because we always
Yeah.
get a good crowd.
Yeah, I mean, one of my pet peeves, and I may be in the minority on this, but I had to drive up through Delaware County yesterday, and I started counting the number of billboards as I left from Rock Hill, and I just stopped counting. But there seems to be there's a love affair with billboards in this county, and because I mean, even when I go to Mountaindale to my office, there's a billboard for McDonald's in the middle of nowhere. So it's,
So how do other
it's like-
areas restrict billboards?
The billboards were put there for the seniors so they could see them.
It's a billboard, there's a billboard on New Road pointing to the
Yep.
McDonald's in Ellenville.
That's right.
And I'm like, does that really need to be there?
But do you know how other areas restrict billboards?
Well, when this becomes I-86, there will be, when it becomes an interstate highway, there will be some federal standards regulating billboards, but there's also, I think a number of those signs, it's been a while since I've looked at the Lady Bird Johnson legislation, but I think a number of those billboards will be grandfathered in for a period of time.
And the ones that are not in the right of way will be able to remain anyway.
The ones on
Yes.
private land.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ones,
Yeah.
Unless the local zoning
Right.
outlaws it,
Unless-
because the Village of Monticello technically, I don't think they allow
But I have seen new
billboards,
ones
but.
popping up, recently, and that's a concern to me,
That's
is,
enforcement.
I mean, I would like to see, and I don't know that it ever will happen, but I'd like to see the experience where as people come into Sullivan County along 17, and this is very radical, I realize it, but I'll put it out there, that there are no billboards. So when you came up, you knew you were entering a resort destination. And, there's, especially now in this day and age with the refinement of wayfinding signage. So, when you go into Disney as a resort, there's very elegant, properly designed signage that directs you to where you want to go. But I'd like to see the billboards replaced with, a coherent system of wayfinding signage that would direct you to Bethel Woods and to the resorts, and, rather than advertising paint and, whatever else is on I mean, there's a ridiculous array of things that are advertised on the billboards in the county, from McDonald's to paint to, I don't know, whatever products are out there, but they're not really advertising resorts.
yeah, but I
So
think
they're-
there's a twofold problem with the billboards. One is getting the people to those places of business in the appropriate manner, but the other is that I think that there's revenue generation from them that would probably be brought up as an issue by some of the owners.
Well, I think that probably would be, but I think the benefit in terms of creating I'm sure Vermont went through this when they amortized the billboards, but I think the economic benefits of creating a world-class destination has been offset, so. But there's plenty of Supreme Court legislation and that would allow municipalities through home rule to pass a law to amortize. When I say amortize, basically it would set a time frame by which those billboards would have to come down. So typically it's 7 years, but they might give them 10 years or something.
Alan, is that a discussion that you can have on your home rule issues with your county board of supervisors at some point?
I can, I'm sure I'm gonna get thrown out of the.
Okay.
I'm happy to take it.
Welcome to the club. I've been thrown out of those meetings.
I'm sure there is, I'd like to I could have almost got half of it done last night if I drove a little slower, but of actually doing an inventory of all the billboards in this county. It's
It's a monumental job.
it's a monumental job, and I think it's atypical for what you see going through the state. I've never seen a proliferation of billboards like I've seen
Go on some of the
here.
back roads in the town of Fallsburg, you'll see some
That's
old
what I'm-
ones that are still there.
Well, you know what,
That's
you
what I'm
may
talking
wanna
about.
start at the town of Thompson, they have a political billboard, the election's over, so maybe you wanna start there.
I'm happy to start the discussion there.
I'm sorry, Thompson started a viewshed initiative at one point too, which focused on future I-86, so it would be sort of a
Okay.
good place to start.
It would be. Yeah, I think it's,
Well-
I'm just throwing it out there because I think, you know, you drive by them every day and it just kind of blends into the scenery, but.
Well, the point is, at almost every meeting we've been to today so far, we're coming up on the fact that within the next few years, we're gonna have to change things dramatically.
Yeah.
And if we don't start now, we're gonna be caught off guard. So now's the time to start looking at all of these different things.
Absolutely. So again, you can go off on all those tangents. I have Jill and Heather here. So,
Do you wanna do that first?
yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll get to the resolution.
Okay.
We'll get to the resolution.
So I was just gonna do a little update, cause at the last meeting, we had National Park Service here, and, the follow-up question was, could the county be doing, or what is the county's responsibility? So, this was something that, Carla Hahn put together, it's a booklet, of what the management responsibilities are of the county. I did cut a little bit out that didn't pertain to Sullivan County, cause it really goes for all the counties involved in the Upper Delaware, the river management plan. I also brought copies of the actual plan if anybody was interested in seeing it. But
Can I get a copy of that someplace?
It might be electronically, or we can even scan it.
If you go to, the National Park Service
Okay.
or the UDC website, it's over there.
Thank you.
can
I
send you-
see
I can send you
the
a link.
number one thing is that county planning divisions are to provide technical assistance.
Right, so under the
Local planning is
management
a-
structure, some of the interesting things are stuff that we kind of are doing. It's, providing technical assistance for local planning and zoning, like we said, and even at the seeker training on the 15th, part of that session is gonna have the UDC talk about their plan of how land use decisions need to be referred to them as well, and how their process works. So, they'll be tag teaming with the Department of State to look at the whole seeker process, and development there. And then the other one was that the sheriff should enforce the state voting laws, that seemed pretty county-specific. And then number 7, the continuing the management of Minisink Battlefield in Fort Delaware. So it all seems like stuff that we are doing and have committed to do through the plan from '86, and that we are doing. The intergovernmental responsibilities, the one thing that Heather mentioned, and she could probably speak to, is that there is no actual county representation on the Upper Delaware Council. So, for better coordination and stuff, that might be something where if a county representative wanted to sit on that committee, that's with the municipalities, DRBC, and the National Park Service. We probably would have to talk to them to see, what availability, but I'm sure they'd welcome even just the participation of the county on that group. And then, like, when we do our county projects, a lot of them are, consistent to the Main Street redevelopment, that we did through the Main Street River Corridor projects. All of those we kind of coordinate to make sure that they are, applicable to the plan. Like when we did the Delaware Valley Arts Alliance building, that's the National Parks building, making sure it all is consistent, so. But so then this just kind of goes over all the other different applicable sections of the plan that the county could be involved in or participating in. So I just wanted to give it to you, let you know. Looks like we could possibly do a little bit more with historic preservation. I know in the past, the planning department did help with putting some of the properties on the National Register, so that could probably be continued, as well as further development of the D&H Canal, which we have talked about through your trail network and initiative and stuff. So it looks like we are, participating and holding up our end of the management plan, but if there's anything else specifically that you feel we should be doing, I would say let us know, and we could see what else could be done.
Well, with regard, sorry, Alan, with regard to the CFA, I've already gotten calls from one project that didn't get funded, so I think it would be nice as part of this, calendar for preparing for July, August 2014, that we also,
Bless.
Bless you.
have some sort of
Bless you.
remedial workshop for those projects. Finding out, why they weren't funded, what they could do to resubmit in 2014, as part of the county's, obligation to bringing
That's a good point.
more state money in.
And speaking to that, did everybody hear what was funded through the CFA? Was that
Yes.
enough?
Yeah.
You went
We
through
got an
all
email
that?
on it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, it looks like we got a pretty good, decent size. One of the projects is another outcome of our local waterfront revitalization program. We got the TA grant for Village of Monticello to improve some of their buildings. So, it seems great that we are gonna keep moving forward if we can keep that momentum going for next year.
Very
I
good.
just think that we didn't really maximize the role that we could have in the county in bringing disparate projects together so that they're, done in sort of groupings or sectors or clusters.
And even prioritize, because sometimes, at the end of the day, someone's gotta make a decision, it's like, these are our priority projects, or these projects are well thought out, so, we're gonna support them. Because sometimes you get kinda half-baked projects that get thrown into the mix, I'm not sure whether that is an effective strategy, it's,
Well, it creates more work for the Mid-Hudson Council, that's for sure, because stuff that would have been done in the lead-in is now done, after submission, so. I know that there were, one or two workshops, but you had to go a long way into the Mid-Hudson region, so if we could kind of get them to move their center of gravity a little bit further west and do more, earlier on, we can get better quality projects at an earlier time submitted. Thanks.
Heather, did you have anything in
Whoever.
particular?
Maybe just in terms of the signs, because we're working, with the town of Lumberland right now, on a sign project on Route 97.
Okay.
And there are
Okay.
specific sign regulations that the scenic byway puts out, and we feel even those are not implemented well, so we've been working with them. We've got a whole inventory of things that we'd like fixed, and I think we might have to go to Binghamton to go over them, but I think it's a good start. And the river management plan does have some good sign, guidelines, design protections.
Yeah, it's good, I think we need to start paying attention to those.
Yeah, and I think
things.
that's what Sean McGinnis would tell you,
Sign
that
guard
in a
on it.
way, these things are out there for the river corridor, and that the municipalities also just need to be, shown how to use them, or reminded that this is there for their benefit.
Yeah, I mean, do we really need a big billboard that says, beautiful Basher Kill, straight ahead?
No, but they were helpful on 17 for the casino vote. I noticed a couple, but 'cause that was a once in a, but
Yeah.
that was important, because people kept driving by and seeing and make sure,
Yeah.
That one should come down too.
Otherwise, we don't need any more, but
That's what I'm saying.
some are,
It's the way.
I know.
Along,
There's-
along with the one you were talking about.
We're not that modest.
The fact that we're even having the discussion is a positive step, because, I think in years past, it was just kind of, maybe that was the economic activity. But hopefully, we're gonna get beyond that,
Yeah.
and then,
And, I'm sorry, can I also mention the river access project? We're having
sure.
a meeting next week, and that's also to help us sort of define a look for the river corridor, so that 6 accesses that we'll be looking at will have similar, aesthetic feel, and make you feel like you are someplace, and that all these pieces belong to an overall system that is worth a visit.
Is
So
that meeting out in
Makes a
Tustin
difference.
again?
it's in Tustin at the UDC offices, 6 p.m. Next Thursday, and everybody's welcome. We've got a
Okay.
great consultant, so.
I'm gonna try to stay focused, so we all have a little lunch break here. So County Treasurer, Ira, I see we have resolutions. Would you like me to just read through those, or do you wanna?
I could summarize them quickly. The first
Okay.
one involves property that was not purchased at our auction in June. If I remember correctly, it's landlocked.
Okay.
We now have an offer from an adjoining landowner, so it wouldn't be landlocked. This resolution would enable this person to acquire the property for $5,000, along with all of the other costs and expenses required in our local law. and the requirement to combine it with the property they now own, or at least to file a combination request with the town assessor to combine it. So
Okay.
that in the future it'll be one parcel and won't be landlocked anymore.
Okay, I'll move that, Alan.
All right, a second? I'll second it. All in favor, it's a sale of small
Yeah,
property?
yeah.
Okay,
First
three
one.
zip, three zip.
Second resolution involves resolution of a litigation in a foreclosure matter. We had an 09 lien, we commenced the proceeding in 2010, an answer was filed in response to that, and has been pending ever since as a result of, partially at least as a result of a bankruptcy filed afterwards. And we met with the owner's council recently, and we have two options here. One is to ask the court to rule on the answer and our motion to dismiss it, in which event we would take title to the property and eventually sell it, or to settle it, which is what this resolution proposes. They're offering to pay us the repurchase price, which is, the price include in the local law with the surcharge, so that the current owner will retain the property. We have no objection to that, and we're recommending that.
Okay, I'll move that, Alan.
Kathy,
Okay, second.
second. Ira,
All in favor?
three zip.
Okay, Linda, real property?
Yeah, I have 6 resolutions on, you can, move them as a block.
Okay.
I'll move
okay.
them, Alan.
Kathy,
Second.
Ira.
Linda, you wanna
These
come-
are all properties in the Village of Liberty that the Village of Liberty took pursuant to tax foreclosure proceedings back in, I believe, 2012. They should have been exempt for all purposes except for school and special assessments.
Okay. All right, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Three zip.
Okay. Those pass as a block. Public comment. Motion to adjourn?
Kathy, Ira.
Okay, thank you.